Welcome back to It's All Made Up, You Decide. The whole idea behind this show is pretty simple. Most of the rules we live by were created by somebody else. Success, careers, retirement, business, they're all stories. We get to decide which ones we believe. Today's guest is someone who's challenged the traditional path long before online became mainstream. Harrison Coley helps online businesses build trust, scale through social media. He's an entrepreneur, an Ironman athlete, an adventurer. I like that one. Someone who's built a life around freedom rather than simply chasing another promotion or another paycheck. What's interesting to me is just that one of his videos reached almost 20 million views. I found that one to be really interesting. It was probably around the time we met, but we'll get into that. It's that Harrison intentionally designed a life that looks very different from what most people are taught to pursue. So today we're going to talk about business, AI, social media, purpose, faith, adventure, and maybe the biggest question of all, once you've built a successful business and the money's coming in, then what? Harrison, welcome to the show.
Jeff, it is such an honor to be here. I'm super excited about doing this conversation and having this conversation on camera with you. Obviously, this relationship, and for everybody listening in, Jeff and I have known each other since, I believe, the end of 23 or very early 2024. And to see this journey that you've been on and to be on this show with you is just, it's making my day. So,
Right on, man. I appreciate that. Well, let's get started. So you're based where, in Austin?
Yep. Yeah. So I'm in Austin, Texas, primarily. I grew up in Colorado. We'll just do like super quick background for everybody listening. So I grew up in Colorado in a town called Glenwood Springs in the Roaring Fork Valley, which is at 5,000 feet of elevation, and everything around you is an adventure. We have world-class whitewater rafting. We've got world-class mountain biking and hiking and skiing, and just the most incredible mountains. And so I got to grow up in this environment where we got to, raise different animals like chickens and sheep and pigs. And then we got to just go outside after school and do things, which was cool. Being in this age where everything's on social media, my whole childhood, my whole social life is on Snapchat and Instagram. And at the same time, I'm like getting out of school or ditching class to go tubing down the river or to go climb up the side of a mountain. So just a really, really magical and very, I think, unique way to grow up.
That sounds a lot like my upbringing, man. Hunting, mini bikes, skidoos, all that. That was way before any technology, man. It's like your parents would be looking for you, but that's very cool. So, and okay, you're in Austin now. You're from Colorado, and you've really. When I met you, it was also about the time we were both in elite coaching with Dan Martell.
Yes,
I believe, and we kind of met that way. And I was in the brick and mortar industry and sold my companies coming out of brick and mortar, trying to figure out, what does online actually look like? Loved your vibe, kind of. You helped me with a lot of stuff at the beginning. Of course, when I did get involved with some of your courses at the beginning, it was always about, I loved your content, and I'll just say this, but I didn't follow through with anything because I didn't know you know what I mean? It's like and I realize that with most people with courses, people can sell you shit all day long. But if you're not going to apply even one little thing, and it always comes down to what you were talking about Michael Smoke earlier, and even you said it, get in front of a camera, right?
Yes.
That's content. It's hard to get your content out. Anyway, we'll get there. I'm not really regimental about the way I interview people. I just want to talk and pull it out.
Jeff, if you don't mind, I'd love to touch on this. I know we're already just early in the podcast, early in the interview. What's really interesting, and so for everybody listening, kind of very, very quick background on me. Been entrepreneurial my whole life. Started a marketing agency that ended up growing to multi-seven figures, had a health crisis, and leaned more on the coaching side because the cash flow is just higher leverage. You're not working 90 hours a week. You don't have to be subservient to 10 different clients that have huge expectations. And that's about the time I joined Dan Martell's elite coaching program, and Jeff and I met. And so Jeff was actually one of my very first ever coaching students, or someone that bought a course for me on this thing like how to do social media. And the reason, I have the authority to speak on that is I had been doing social media marketing for about 4 or 5 years, and we had made tens of millions of dollars for some pretty significant names in the online and social media marketing space. We'd built some big brands. But what's interesting, and Jeff, to your point of all this advice is great, all these tactics and strategies are awesome. But the reality is course completion rate, like online education completion rate, is less than 2%. And so like people generally don't change their lives based on like online advice through a video document, a video program, or a document, a Google worksheet, a PDF. It doesn't actually change anybody's life. And so it's interesting, like the value in a lot of these things. In Dan Martell's coaching community, the value is number one, proximity to excellence, which is like, what is this guy doing that makes him so good? And so then you can learn those things and model those things. And then the second thing is the community, the people you're around, the people you meet. And so it's funny, like here we are, 3 years after we met, life has changed. You're absolutely killing it with the content. And it's the realization is like, oh, the value in an investment, if it's not a direct service delivery or product, is the people that you get to meet or the people that you get to have access to. And it's the same thing with like sporting events. It's the same thing with really, in my experience, any part of life. And when the value is in the people you're meeting or the people you suddenly get access to, now you can role model greatness. It's like you see Dan Martell walk around with a camera all day. You like, I know, Jeff, you went on his Jet Set Mastermind. So you go spend like 3 days on a private jet with Dan Martell jumping around to different cities, which is awesome. You also probably watch him follow around with a camera and make 150 pieces of content while he does it. And so suddenly you go, wait a second, that's what it takes. And you see the behind the scenes that makes the content, that makes the business, that builds the brand. Yeah. And so then you can role model it. And then you can say, okay, that's worth investing into. I see it now. But the courses themselves.
Isn't that funny you say that? It's because it's like, for the longest time you go, well, what is it I'm selling? What is it I'm selling? What is it? And now fast forward to where we are right now. If you look at the way the world's changed, it's like, okay, I was just explaining this to Jonathan. We're talking about everything was educational online, education. Then people see through that now. They know the courses. They're burnt out with the courses. They're even burnt out with, in some respects, going into the, school, right?
Yes. Yeah. Even the community thing.
Yeah. They want this right now. Like if this was streaming live right now on YouTube, which it should be, this is what people want. They want like now. They don't want, hey, I'm going to get another guy's going to, excuse me, clip out a piece of, something on TikTok. Don't get me wrong. You have to do that. But that right now is changing. And something, listen, man, when I did that Jet Set Mastermind with Dan Martell, read the book, Buy Back Your Time, and I thought, I was jealous. Why was I jealous? Because I built my whole life around subbing everything out. And when I sold my companies, I still didn't know how to do anything. Matter of fact, I had quit 10 years ago, didn't tell anybody. But when I went on the Jet Set, that's the ultimate, isn't it? Fly 3.5 hours from Canada to Austin via jet. Fun. Makes you wake up that, hey, life is an adventure. Anyhow, when did you sort of realize, I guess we kind of covered that, you didn't want a traditional career? Because everybody's got that burning desire in them. What was it for you?
It's interesting. I originally planned to be a lawyer. And so I love math. I love science. I love numbers. Growing up, I was actually quite a bit of a nerd. And so I wasn't a popular kid. I wasn't like a team athletic guy. I was actually, this is a story I've never told on the internet. In like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, I went to a very small school. There was like 12 kids in my class. And I always decided to feel like the odd one out, right? And it's a choice. I could have had a different story, but as a kid, the story that I was telling myself is that I don't belong here and these people don't like me, which is, by the way, a horrible story to tell yourself. Don't recommend it, by the way. If you're telling yourself that story, maybe try a different one. Because it's not true. Or it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, really, is what it is. And so instead of doing recess when I was like, and I'm like 9 years old, and we're learning, I think in 2nd grade is when we started learning about long division. And so our teacher would do long division problems on the whiteboard, on the chalkboard. One of those old chalkboards where you can actually scratch nails on the chalkboard, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so instead of going to recess, I would get bored and I'd be like, I don't want to go outside. I'm going to get bullied. This is going to suck. I would stay inside for recess and I would solve long division math problems. And so what I would do is the kids would go out to the out to recess, and I go up to the whiteboard and I would write out as long of a long division problem as I thought I could solve within 30 or 45 minutes. And then I would just spend the whole recess solving one math problem, like these big, giant, meaty math problems. And we didn't have calculators, so I'm doing it by hand. And so I'm doing it mentally.
What's the movie? We all want to know, what's that movie? Come on. The Janitor. Matt
Is there
Damon.
actually a movie about this?
No, but it's like what you're talking about. What was that movie? Good Will Hunting.
No way.
This sounds like Good Will Hunting. No, dude. No,
I love it.
But he come on, everyone know Good Will Hunting's a great movie, right? It's like that was Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Yeah.
1997. This has Robin Williams in it.
No. It's called Good Will. Oh yeah, Robin Williams is the counselor, but Matt Damon is the genius that solves the math. He's a janitor and he solves these math problems in the hallway, like they'll at night, and then they're trying to figure out. It's a was it? Is he?
I love that.
Physicist, right? Was it the professor of physics? Anyway, but so back to that. That's fascinating to me. So, because I know you're really good. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm looking at the plot right now. That's awesome.
Have you seen that movie?
I have not. But
dude, what are we talking about? That was the movie that took Matt Damon and Ben Affleck to stardom. That was their first movie they wrote, right? They wrote it. It's a good movie, man. You got to see it. That's your homework.
I'll put that on the queue. Yeah, I can do that. That's good homework.
So anyway, your long division math at recess. That's pretty geeky, man. I was playing guitar, but you were doing math. Dig it.
Yeah, it was pretty dorky. And so I ended up just being like, and what I would do is I'd solve the problem, and then at the end of recess, or right before the end of recess, I'd have the math teacher use her calculator and make sure I'm not retarded. And so I'd be like, hey, can you like tell me where I messed up? And so I'd get this feedback. And so I ended up getting really into that whole world. And then in high school, it looked like actually selling, my like selling homework to kids. And so I was one of those dorks. And then, of course, I went off the deep end and got into drugs and alcohol and got super lost. But to your question of like, why design this life that I have, I think throughout my entire life so far, I've been blessed and given the gift of marching to the beat of my own drum. And what that actually looks like, and the thing I'm extremely grateful for with my parents, is my parents have always invited me and given me the ability to explore my curiosities. So my parents are like, hey, we don't care what you do as long as you actually care about what you do. Right? And so my parents were never, you have to go to college, you have to play this sport. They said, you have to do things that matter to you. And as long as they matter to you, that's fine. Even if we don't understand. Yeah. And so I'm very, very grateful to have had a family where my parents both really drove that into me of like, just find the things you're curious and interested about and follow those. And so in second, third, fourth, fifth grade, that looked like mathematics. In high school, that looked like smoking a bunch of pot and selling math homework. The thing changed.
I thought you said selling math homework for a second.
Yes.
Like not solving.
Yeah.
Was it selling math?
Yeah. And so in high school, actually, one of my good friends, Stenner Beckley, absolutely incredible guy. I remember in high school, there's this one time, and he was like super popular. So Stenner's like the kid that everybody wants to hang out with. He's going to all the parties. And I'm just this dorky dude that likes doing calculus, which was so lame. It was so funny. And I remember one time after high school, we're sitting in his car and he goes, dude, I wish I could be like you. I wish I could like just make these things easy. And here I am feeling like a loser that doesn't have any friends. And I'm like, dude, I wish I could be like you. And it's so funny, the grass is always greener, right?
Always, man. Like that's, we were just talking about that earlier. It's like, we spend most of our lives going, I got to get it together. Meanwhile, it is together. You just don't realize it. This thing about following your passions, it's great that you had parents that were, excuse me, that were behind you and in that way. My dad was more like, go to work. I don't care what you do, just go to work. He was from that era, right? And hey, he was Navy and life worked out. But, something about life as an adventure keeps coming up for me with you. You built this online you had the online thing, you had some setbacks with the health. You've come back now and you've is that my phone or yours? That dinging. Me. Sorry.
I'll make sure we're on.
I don't care what, we can cut that out, doesn't matter, but this isn't polished. None of this is polished. I don't like polish. Waste of time. So tell me about, so you you and I met, you got this going. I did some work with you, went back and forth. Actually, kind of cool. Then we met in Austin that day at the Proper. That was pretty fun. That was a good. That was pretty cool to have met that way. But anyway, you had a 20 million, I think it 19.5 million views or something on a. How did that come about? Like, that still blows me away. That was a really good post on three. I think it was three.
The Secrets 3 Golden Rules of Life.
Yeah. What happened there?
Yeah, great question. So again, I just continued to follow this curiosity, and my first real successful business was in lead generation on Instagram. And what ended up happening with the first business is I was like, well, I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to go to law school right now. And I know that I want to be able to build big business. My whole life I've always wanted to build business. I think it's like the most practical way to solve problems in the world. I'm very entrepreneurial in that way. And so I followed this, and I was like, well, no matter what, I need to be able to make something make money, like no matter what I'm doing. So I need to learn sales and marketing. And then by the time I'm winding down the agency, my business partner and I are splitting up. Right before I meet you, I realized, well, I know how to make money now. We've been able to do this thing and just drive business through the internet, which, that's insane. Like, you can just post something on the internet and people buy something. That's cool. That's like really cool. And the secret there is like identify a problem and talk about solving the problem, and then people pay you to solve the problem. So that's as simple as it gets there. So in that week, what ended up happening is I got really curious about, like, well, if I want to sell stuff, and I want to sell stuff to a lot of people to have a big business, I need to reach a lot of people. Because it's one thing to sell something where usually the performance is lower. You could get 300 views on a video and still get 5 buyers if you're talking about the right thing. But then the next question I asked myself, the next thing I got curious about was like, well, how can I reach more than 300 people? What if I could reach 3,000 or 30,000 or 3 million or 30 million? And so I got really interested in virality on social media specifically. I'm like, what makes a video perform well? And so I ended up making a series of like 15 posts. And I made the series of 15 posts in like 20 days. And lo and behold, a couple of them really popped off. A few of them were like 1.5 million. One was 3.4 million. I think one was 5.7 million. And aggregate over these 15 videos, I ended up doing, it was like 35 or 40 million views on 15 videos. And the best of them was this one video of this guy, William DeShields, at the Golden Globes, giving this speech on the 3 golden rules of life. And I just really liked this speech. And so my whole focus there was like, okay, I don't need to be the guy that goes viral. I want to just understand what are the mechanics to go viral. And so I end up making these series of posts, and that one does about 19.9 million views. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like, in my mind, I figured it out. And the big secret there for me was like, open a loop that everybody wants closed, aka like put a question in someone's mind that they need the answer to, and then answer the question.
Pain almost.
Bingo. And so when you open the loop, what you're really doing is it's a hook, right? You're putting a question in their mind that they want the answer to, aka like, what is happening right now? What does this mean? This is applicable to me, whatever that loop is. A good friend of mine, Reed Olson, everybody should be watching Reed Olson. He's like content that is actually worth watching. He does this exceptionally well. I mean, the guy is getting like at least 2, 3, 4, 5 million views per video, every single video. He doesn't make a bad video. And he comes at it from a perspective of he's always learning. He doesn't know how to go viral. He's constantly testing things. He's really takes a scientific method to his content, and he's just willing to put in a ton of repetition. Like, he just tries and tries and tries and tries, and then he can consistently go viral. So when we met, the same thing happened, where I was like, well, I know that I know how to sell things on the internet now, but now I want to figure out how to reach people. And my mind was, well, let me just test the different things that I think might work. Let me test different visuals. Let me test different audios. Let me test different ways of asking questions and inspiring people. And I had a couple of the videos that ended up working out pretty well.
Yeah, that one was remarkable. And it's interesting. So out of the 19, like out of all those views, isn't there something, okay, you can have a video that goes viral and they but it's interesting to me. Like, you don't need that big of a following anymore to sell to a specific audience. Like the old days, it was like go viral. Viral is not what it used to be, is it? Like that's changed a lot.
Well, I think what's happening is if we look at marketplace sophistication, like how sophisticated is a marketplace, people are just getting smarter, right? Like in the early 1900s, most people didn't know how to read, like anywhere in the world, you know, and that's 126 years ago, and it would be like, oh, you're an outlier in intelligence for knowing how to read. And so the people that knew how to read in the 1900s are like, everybody needs to learn how to read. And so like now the sophistication, you know, over the past 5 years has gone, everybody needs to know how to go viral on social media. Everybody needs to know how to build a brand. What is a brand? It's association with something. It's a relationship. It's a reputation, right? Like that's what brand is like when I buy from this person or this company, I expect this level of quality service experience. And so it was everybody needs to know how to build a brand. And now it's everybody needs to automate everything with AI. And so all those like these big trends, really to me what they are, is it's the marketplace getting more educated. And so what happened is the whole everybody needs to know how to go viral. A bunch of people invest a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort into learning how to go viral. And some of them go viral and they go, well, I'm still not making any money. And some of them don't go viral and they go, well, I'm still making money or I'm still getting results. So maybe this virality thing isn't actually the thing that it needs to be. And so that's, I think, what happens is like at every stage of learning in society and civilization, what happens is people get excited about the newest thing to learn, about the newest technology, about the newest standard. We were talking about standards before the podcast. It's like, hey, the new standard of competition in this industry is you need to know social media, or right now it's AI. And so when the standard gets raised, people either get results and they say, okay, this is awesome, what next? Or they don't get results and they say, maybe this isn't the golden, like it's not a silver bullet. It's not the one thing that's going to fix everything. Maybe there's something else. And we need both of, like those two results are both inevitable when new technology or new standards happen.
Yeah, so with AI right now, wow, there's a lot we could unpack in there. You know, AI, like that was one of the questions I wanted to bring. Where do you see AI now? I want to actually give you my opinion of AI right away. I think that it's kind of overblown. It's like bubblegum. And I think even Dan said this. Dan's like, you know, true calling is a King's Club where he's helping kids and stuff. And he said the AI is bubblegum to him. While he says that, he's building this big, you know, AI company. And what has he really done is he's used his connection and proximity. And that's a perfect example of proximity. He's brought all these great people and he's subbed out the work now, like he did with the SaaS Academy. And he's bringing all these great minds together. And of course, they're going to build something great. That's awesome. But for the average Joe, it doesn't mean much. Now, the average Joe, like me, building business in the coaching space, I use Claude, I use ChatGPT. I don't need to use that much more because it's got to be me in front of the person talking. For example, I have an industrial company that I do consulting for, one of my clients, and I'm at a shop the other day, or I got to get on the phone with them. That's a little bit different than, I don't know, AI. Yeah, it's changing a lot of things around us, but the average person, I mean, we were already exposed to it anyway. When you phone the phone company, you know, press 1, press 2. I just know when you're on social media, you're being thrown AI all day long, right? But I don't think a lot of people know how to process AI, especially online. Because again, you've got there's your physical business and then there's your online business. And if you're online, of course, AI is going to help you because it creates a lot of shortcuts for you. And actually, talk about genius. If you're short on ideas, where do you go? Claude, ChatGPT. They can take it. I've got so many projects in my ChatGPT. I don't even think anymore unless I go into ChatGPT. And I never type anything in. It's my ChatGPT. I've got all the projects and then I got the projects that are pinned. I love that stuff. Where do you see it going? How do you use it, for example? How do you use AI right now?
So I think there's things that AI is really good at, and there's things that I believe you should never let AI do. And I'll give a couple examples real quick, because I think I'm not an expert on AI. I'm not a software developer, but I'm surrounded by some people that are much better at this stuff than I am, and I've been applying a lot of it. So AI is very involved in what we're doing. So real quick, some context in how I look at this is like the automated phone line when you're calling your insurance company or you're calling a corporate company is horrible. It makes the experience worse. You're waiting, you're talking to someone who's not qualified, who's just following a script. It's a terrible customer experience because it's uniform. It's not about you. You're just going down the factory line of, can we get this person off the phone? It sucks. Nobody likes that experience, right? So number one, like customer experience and client experience, we want to treat people like human beings because that's what we are. We're not robots. We're not trying to stick to a script here. And so when we feel like we're being pigeonholed into a script, it's never enjoyable for anybody. I don't know. Maybe there's some weirdos that love it. I don't. So actually, talking about virality and AI, one of my roommates, I believe I've talked to you about Luke before. One of my roommates, Luke, he's a software developer. And so recently, he sees all this content about people like vibe coding apps on the internet, and he's able to, using his phone, he'll just go onto his iPhone, and he'll go onto his browser, and he's able to like penetrate these guys' online AI-built softwares, these vibe-coded softwares, these vibe-coded websites. And he's like not only getting access to like their client databases, but their payment information, their banking information. He was actually able, and he's doing all this consensually.
Sorry, just to interrupt, just to catch up a little bit. So what you're saying is anybody that's built AI software, for example, I know you can go on tomorrow and Claude can build you a website in 5 minutes. So you're talking about those types of websites, right? Like
yes.
That stuff's easy to break into. Okay.
Yeah. So the vibe coded stuff, right? Hey, hey, Lovable, build me a website, or hey, Claude, build me an app, right?
That's what I was looking for. Yeah.
So there's all these people on the internet that are like, hey, here's how to store all of your information on the internet or your client's information. Here's how to automate this part of your business. And Luke, consensually, with this guy's permission, is like, well, can I see how secure it is? And he's able to not only log into the guy's entire database, but he's able to turn on his camera's Luke is able to turn on this guy's computer's camera from his phone in like less than 5 minutes. And so now Luke is able to watch this guy through his webcam in less than 5 minutes through this vibe-coded portal that he built. And so Luke he goes, dude, this is a huge issue. And he sits down with the whole, we'll talk about the house maybe. I live in a house with a bunch of guys, super entrepreneurial. So we sit down with Luke, and Luke is like, hey, I think I need to start making content. And I'm like, ding, 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 yes, that's the one. And so he's ended up making a couple pieces of content and gone mega viral. And so now he's at like, I think 180,000 followers on Instagram. He had like back-to-back multi-million view videos. He's at like 60,000 people on an email list and had one of the fastest growing school communities for AI. And so I'm living with this guy that is publicly recognized right now as like one of the like quote unquote leading people on AI. And so that's where I think I can give a decently informed perspective on how like where this stuff is going and how it's actually usable, is because my roommate not only has blown up on social media with AI, but he actually built an app that reached $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue as a subscription app in like less than 6 months from zero, with no marketing background. As a software developer, he was able to build this app and market this app, and he automated like 90% of the business administration with AI. And so what he didn't do is he didn't make the app with AI. Like he's not like he obviously used AI to help develop a lot of the code base, but he wasn't telling Claude like, hey, I need you to build me an app and here's what you need to build. He was like, hey, this is the thing that I'm building, build this small piece. And then he's like, essentially he's using AI as like the production pipeline for the Legos, but he's still building the Lego set.
Yeah.
Right. Understood, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah.
I think that's a good analogy. It's like AI is really great for building Legos, but you still have to build the Lego set. But so I got to watch him. What he ended up doing is he ended up automating like the content editing. He ended up automating the performance reports of all of his marketing. He ended up automating with AI his advertising, so like his Facebook ads, TikTok ads, Google ads, all these things, you can connect them with these thing called AI agents, or AI that essentially is functioning autonomously from you because it has a clear instruction, and then you do this thing called a cron job. And a cron job is essentially just an alarm that goes off. So it's like every day at 8 a.m. I want you to do this thing again. And that's a cron job, right? And so I got to watch him, like, where he built out this AI agent that like analyzes his Facebook ad creatives and says, okay, these ad creatives are at this impressions, this frequency, this click-through rate, this cost per click, this conversion rate. We should spend more money on them, or these are underperforming and we should turn these off. And hey, overall, I'm seeing our 10 creatives, these are performing well, these are performing poorly. We also need to make more creatives, and here's why. And so he ends up building these AI agents that are informed on what he's doing, and they're informed on his business, and they also have general skills and general you educate these AIs because they're idiots unless you actually teach them what to do, on like how to analyze a Facebook ad account and know what decisions to make. And so now this AI comes to Luke every morning and says, hey, these ads we should spend more money on. These ads we should turn off, and these ads we should film.
Wow.
And then Luke just gets to press a button that says, yes, that sounds great. So really like industry leading. Go check him out. Luke Builds AI on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll have to get that.
He's super solid.
Luke, what's his handle at?
It's just Luke Builds AI.
And okay, so yeah, so it's great. I knew you lived in a house with 5 entrepreneurs. I did know that, and that's great proximity. And you're in a great spot. Like Austin's a vibe. Austin's a cool place. Like just that when I went there, it was. So the business that you're working on now, are you still in the ad space? Like, are you spending a lot on ads? Is that what you're doing? Like, what are you doing with your time?
Yeah. So again, with the same thing with Luke, is like when Luke first came to me, he's like, hey, can you run all my ads? Can you help me make this content?
Okay, so you're working with him.
And I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And then we get into the project and Luke goes, I think I can automate everything you're doing for me. And I'm like, no, you can't. No way. No shot. And then like a week later, everything's running by AI and it's making decisions the same way I'd make the decisions. It's solving the problems the same way. So now I'm going,
oh shit.
Yeah, I'm like, talk about job security. I'm like, okay, bye-bye. That 5 years that I spent learning how to do this, I guess that doesn't matter anymore, which is hilarious. And so like I currently use AI across, we work with a couple pretty significant, well-established companies. And we're still doing marketing. We're still doing the advertising, the organic content side of things for lead generation. But now I have AI that's installed into my ads manager, into our social media accounts. And so it can pull the reports. And so now like every week I get a report and my client gets a report of like, here's all the numbers, here how things are going, and here's what we recommend.
That's your bread and butter. Sorry to interrupt. That's your bread and butter. Okay.
And so it's given us the ability to apply much more leverage. And I'll talk about like kind of what I'm really, really fascinated about, and we can get into, is like the human experience and the things that you can't scale, right? Like all these huge brands, huge businesses, they always talk about like doing the unscalable thing, like writing a handwritten letter to a client. Like you can't do that forever, but it's the most valuable part of the human experience.
Dude, listen, I want to go back on that for a second. I love what you're talking about because you're talking to the guy that built a service company based on customer service. When you started talking about the phone earlier, it got me just, my blood was boiling because if I missed a phone call in the restoration industry, that would be thousands of dollars. And I always said to my staff, everybody is a piece of gold when they phone. Somehow they got that phone to ring. You got it to ring, whether it was back then Yellow Pages or was it, referral repeat. We used to have a little piece of paper. How did you get this? A little piece of paper, the administrator would have to go, hi, Mr. Jones, how did you find out about us? Blah, 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 blah. Then we do a report by hand. That telephone thing got me thinking, like, I got me pumped. And then the other thing we started in the industry was baskets. Every time we finish a claim, we would give a basket of all the local goodies. Gangbusters. So that with online still works, and people forget that because we're still humans. We still feel, and we still want to feel special. The direction, finish up what you're going to say there. I get pumped about customer service. Don't get me started.
It's the way to go. And so for me, like I got a really beautiful wake up call. The writing was on the wall when, Luke and I sit down and suddenly he has AI doing everything that I can do, and it's probably doing it better. It's definitely more reliable than a human. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, here we go. We should probably figure the next thing out. And so suddenly I get really curious about something new. The same way I got curious about math problems, the same way I got curious about drugs. I was like, well, what can I be curious about next, right? Like, it's definitely not running ad accounts, because that's going to come to a close pretty quick. And so I'm like, well, what about this is unique? And it is the client experience. It's the human part of the journey. And even going back to, you know, how you and I met and how we got started, it's the, like, yes, the course material is valuable. Yes, the access to expertise and guidance is valuable. But in today's world, I can ask Claude how to do most things. Like, hey, I want to do this thing. How do I do it? Right? But the human experience, the access to the people, the quality of the other people there, those types of things, the ability to feel like you belong whenever you're in a room. So going way back in my story to second, third grade, when I was like, I don't belong here. Well, what if we can create environments where people do feel like they belong? What if we can create environments where people say, hey, wait, like with Dan Martell is world class at this with King's Club, where he'll go to a bunch of elementary, middle school, high schoolers, and he'll be like, hey, by the way, this is possible for you. And it's not this like, hey, look at me and look how awesome my life is, which is a selfish perspective. It's a, hey, by the way, like if you actually want to, you can have a Ferrari. Like that's a thing you're allowed to do. And so I'm getting really curious about the same thing, life by design, right? Like I built a Bible study community to over 100 people per week in my living room. And the way that I built that Bible study in person was not through being I didn't study theology. I'm not a pastor's kid. I wasn't a lifetime Christian. The way that I built that is I obsessed over making every single person there, whether they'd been a Christian for 10 years or their whole life, or someone that had never opened the Bible. I said, how can I make this experience where anybody curious about this thing called Jesus, let me just invite them in to have a good experience. How can I make this room? How can I make this event something where they go, I think I belong here. I trust these people. I like these people. These people get me closer to God, and I'm safe here. I belong here. And so when we create that, like that's the thing that has got me fascinated above everything else, is this ability to create inspiration, belonging, and trust within people. And we can go.
This is perfect. This is what I was talking about this morning. We were talking back and forth, Jonathan and I, and I said, you know, what is Dan? I was going through some Dallas photos. It's funny you brought that up, because there's a photo of you shooting, I think it was an AR or something. Was it an M16? I don't know. But when we went to Dallas, I was shooting ARs with Jeremy Pogue and Cassidy Warren. It was Jeremy, hey, let's go to a gun range. I'm like, yeah, okay. It was a little traumatizing listening to all the, you know, I couldn't imagine being at battle with a gun with no ear. Can you imagine, dude? You talked about post-traumatic stress. Anyway, I digress here, but this idea of standards, like increasing your standard, like it's really hard for me to get this out, but it's like, I knew early on I had a burning desire and I wanted change. And I always wanted change. And of course, what got in the way of me was, you know, taking jobs I didn't like, and drugs and alcohol as well. That gets you on a different path. Then eventually you go, well, this is bullshit, doesn't work. Guy has to change it up. And you're always raising your standards. Now, Dan is really good at keeping, his standards are here and his level keeps going up. And if you want to be part of that world, which is a cool world, by the way, because that's where that's where you can get your creative out. You know, most people don't realize that when they change who they are, like you know, you got the Bible study going and you're bringing all these people in, and all of like mind, all want to move forward, all have a spiritual part in their life. I love that. And that's actually why I joined Dan's elite coaching again. I just joined it again for the third time. Why? Because I live half hour from him. And I'm going to are you going to his 850, just as a side note, we can cut this out, but he's had 850 founders are coming in October to Kelowna.
Right? I had no idea.
And he's going to have the founders hike. Yeah, it's a thing. I'm going.
Oh, sign me up. Yeah, send me the details. I would love to be there.
So yeah, he's got like it's different packages, but the interesting thing is that we're always bringing up our level, and I know there's this thing about, you know, there's more people not drinking alcohol. Like my generation, drinking was no big, you know, 80s, right?
Yeah.
And even me, I was on a cruise ship last week and I was having a few, you know. but I realize what it does to you. It sets you back to the degree. I'm not saying, you know, I was hammered on this thing, but you're on a cruise ship, man. You're driving away, and then you're like, this is just a side note. I just did not fit on this cruise ship. You know, I've been on cruises before, but it's just like, I did not fit. I'm not that guy anymore. Even at 64, shouldn't I be the guy that gets on a cruise ship? I'm retired, right? I don't have to work. But it's this idea of bringing your standards up all the time is so important. And most people don't want to look at that. They don't want that change. So anyhow, I don't know where I was going with that, but that, I guess that's one of the things I liked about you as well is, okay, you've made up this life. Now you've got 100 people every week for a Bible study. You've made that up. Because this is what the show is about. You're making shit up as you go here. Anyway,
right.
You know, it's all made up.
Even to the same thing of like, you can do whatever you want. Like, I live in a $4 million house with a bunch of 20-year-old entrepreneurs. Like, I'm a 25-year-old dude from middle of nowhere, Colorado. Yeah. And not only have I been able to build some really awesome businesses, but I've been able to meet some really cool people. Like the fact that we can host a dinner party and talk about Michael Smoke, he shows up. And it's like, that's not on the list of like, on the menu of life of like, what can you get out of life? Like, oh, I can have my favorite influencers and business owners come over to my house and just hang out. That's not on the bingo card. Yeah. But it is available. And so it's like, oh, all I have to do is just ask for these things. Worst thing they can ever tell you is no. And I love everything you're saying, Jeff, because it is like, I think I'm wearing this shirt right now that says building cool shit with my friends.
I love that shirt. Building cool shit with my friends. This is what we're actually talking about. Why would you even, like, listen, don't get me wrong. When I'm in elite coaching, I've heard it all before and I understand it, but I'm not building a multi-million-dollar company. I'm, you know, eventually I'll see where it goes. But right now I've always had this idea of, you know, easy and relaxed manner type of thing. I don't want to get too carried away, but I love this proximity. Back to this proximity. I think that's super important. And I don't think people put themselves out there enough. They stay locked into their own fear-based life. When really, if you hang out with people, I'm gonna say it, people like ourselves, like one of the biggest things, the biggest secrets to my business over the years has been having an empathetic ear to employees, understanding where they are all the time. I just had a situation with a client where they lost 3 of their best people all in 1 week, and it's like, how did that happen? That was leadership, because you know, the owner checked out, or he quit 10 years ago. And I said, you know, you always have to be. We used to have these things called mosh pits in the company, and that was a mosh pit meeting. Talk about the wins. I don't even want to talk about the wins. There's no agenda here. We're not going to talk about safety, and that's why I actually joined Dan's group again, because there's not very many of us. And I know that sounds not when I say that, it's like, there's not very many of you. Of course there's not. You're an individual, but there's not very many entrepreneurs that really set the standard and push it and go for it and level up all the time. People post things on the internet and you look at them and go, well, their standards must be high, and they must. Bullshit. That's all bullshit. Fact is, there's not many people there's people that want to live in that world. Example, I'll use this, and you probably know this. It's like, I met you through Dan Martell. What can I offer other Dan Martell people in the elite group? Well, we're all going the same way. Maybe if there's a commonality, we can help each other. Great. We can help each other for sure. But I don't know what the question was in there. More so,
I think that's okay.
The people that are not in the elite coaching are the ones, they're going to be your customers. Why? Because, you know what I mean? They don't even know that they should level up yet. They don't even know what like when Dan goes, what are your daily non-negotiables? You're like, what? I always ask my clients now, what are your daily non-negotiables? Well, what does that mean? Well, it means when you roll out of bed, you have 2 espressos. That's a daily non-negotiable, and you don't even know you've made a daily non-negotiable. When you roll out of bed and you put your, you know, I love when he does daily non-negotiables. Anyway, it's not about me, it's about you.
No, to your point on the daily non-negotiables, love this. Especially with like, I got this lesson really clearly with the Bible study of the realization, to your point of like, there's not many people like this. The other side of that same coin is you don't have to be, right? Like, not everybody has to be this way. And so like Dan's daily non-negotiables are like post on an Instagram 3 stories. I think it's do a workout. He's got some like really awesome, very foundational daily non-negotiables. If your daily non-negotiables are drink 2 espressos and I don't know, whatever it is, watch an episode of your favorite TV show, that's totally okay. And so like I got this through the Bible study of like, hey, we're going to talk about this guy Jesus, and we're going to talk about him in a peaceful and calm and gentle way. And if you don't want to talk about him, that's totally fine. Like that's not the point is never, and I think Dan does it well with like the Kings Club stuff too, where it's like, if you want the Ferrari, you can have the Ferrari, but you don't need it. And the whole like secret there, the secret sauce behind all of this, and it's like kind of what you asked earlier, and on a really roundabout way of what am I actually doing now? It's like you can have anything that you want, but you don't actually need it. And then the real secret is everything that you actually want out of life is actually just personal development wrapped in bacon. And so it's like, oh, I want a Ferrari.
Totally.
And so it's like, well, that's the bacon. It looks really good. It looks exciting. I want this Ferrari. But the real thing is I want to be the type of person that drives the Ferrari. And that's really all it is. And so then it's just personal development. Same thing with Christianity, same thing with fitness, same thing with business, same thing with social media is I want this thing. Okay, well, let's take a second and ask yourself, why do you want that thing? And if we really get deep, the reason you want it is because you want to be that type of person. And so that comes into the daily non-negotiables and the standards is like, okay, well, let's go from your standards being I have to drink 2 espressos and watch an episode of TV. Let's change those standards to be more similar to the standards of the person that you want to be. And so it's one of my good friends.
Exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a simple thing.
That's how I sort of know. That actually was probably the most powerful thing that I learned from Dan was, yeah, okay, you want change in your life. Well, how do you do it? Well, we always knew that the decisions you make in your life and the habits that he just put it a different way. The daily non-negotiables are basically habits, which I like. And I'm always saying that to the people that I'm consulting with. It's like, dude, what do you do in the morning? Well, I don't do this. Well, why not? I love that. And there's something behind that sweat 7 days a week. The free endorphins you get. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm actually drinking some of his new tonic. We had new tonic yesterday here. And
Huge
this other Canadian dude, right? Like I was off the cuff. Right now I could just chew this microphone. I'm so hyped up. I've had like 4 coffees waiting for this interview, right? And you know, at the end of the day, like I wanted to do an interview with you and just because, yeah, you did help me at the beginning and I appreciate that. And it got me into the online space. And I'm curious, or for a little while there, you were gone on the internet. I noticed you were taking a bit of a break or something. What was going on there?
Great question. Also, shout out New Tonic. They're amazing.
Yeah.
So funny. I disappeared off so I did this whole virality thing. I got super curious. And to be candid with you, what ended up happening is I had a couple of people come to me for coaching, including yourself, of like, hey, I want to do this online business thing. And all of the clients in the agency already had online businesses, and our goal was to just grow them. And so I ended up taking on these clients in the coaching space where I'm like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to do this thing. And honestly, not a lot of people got results, and they didn't get results at the same level of the people that worked with us as an agency. And I try to be a very ethical person. I like when things weigh heavy on my heart, it matters to me a lot. And so like talking about the, when you talk about like what type of person do I have to become to have this thing? When we talk about the bacon, the personal development wrapped in bacon, all roads lead to Rome, right? And so like for me, I would like to be wealthy. I would like to be successful in business. I also know I am unwilling to be the type of person that can't sleep at night because I've ruined other people's lives to get there, right? We look at like the CEO of Nestle saying clean drinking water is not a public right. What the fuck? You know, I'm not willing to be that type of entrepreneur where I'm ruining someone's life just to get what I want. That's unacceptable to me. It really is. It just blows my mind that people are willing to have things in life by taking advantage of other people. And so I start doing these courses and people aren't getting the same results. And I'm like, well, what's up with this? Why isn't this working? And it's bothering me. And so I say, I need to take a step back because I'm not getting the results I want to get out of this. So I take a step back and I take a break on social media And I just get really curious about my life. I'm like, what is working? What isn't working? Why are these things working? And why aren't these things working? And I look around, I'm like, okay, well, building in-person community is working. Building this house of entrepreneurs is working. Like these things in my life are working. My spiritual journey is working. My fitness journey is working. But this like telling people how to make a video is not working. And why is that? And so let me get really curious about that. And so I've taken this big break. And now in a funny way, roundabout way, I've come to this place of realizing like, hey, yes, make the content, but what is it really about when you're educating people on the internet? Like if you go to school, if you go to a mastermind, if you go to an event, if you go to a business or a job, what do you actually really care about? And it's the humans you're with and the experience you have, no matter what. And then through the experience you're having and the humans you're with, you're inspired to be more like them or be the opposite, demotivated, and you don't want to be like them at all. And so I've really, really, really indexed into like, okay, if I'm going to do this online thing, which I'm coming back and I cannot wait to share with the internet what we're working on, it has to be about community. It has to be about client experience. It has to be about individuals experiencing something that inspires them to be better or gives them clarity to go do something different.
Listen,
so it's like this.
Interrupt. That's a standard in itself, or it's a morality piece. But anyway, think about it. The best, when you said what you said about selling people things so that they can become successful, I always think about the publishing that Bob and I had years ago. We were blown away by all the different seminars that we attended, and this was back in late 90s, early 2000s. Every time somebody had a book, or they got up on stage, they had a book, that was their business card, and we're like, oh, that's cool. Everyone would run to the back of the room and they buy shit they don't need. Right? And they'd all get buyer's remorse a week later. It was friggin' hilarious. So then the next thing then became, okay, we're like, we don't want to just sell what they're selling, because I have an issue with selling something in a package when I know full well the guy's not going to do anything with it unless you are there right beside him. We ended up selling, we wanted people to have something in the end. And that's why the publishing did so well, is because we're teaching them how to write and publish a book.
Sorry, I got a ding going off.
Yeah, see that?
Okay, I'm back on D&D. We're here.
Okay, so the whole thing about, having the publishing company and selling people how to self-publish was very powerful, because what would happen in the end? They'd have a book on Amazon, and our secret weapon at the time was Lightning Source, until they got bought by Amazon. That was when nobody was self-publishing. But the cool thing was they got a book in the end. And I felt pretty good about that, because it was pretty easy to get them a book. But you're right. Like, anyway, there's so many different ways to make money. Now, yes. Speaking of which, if you making money online, do you think it's a lot harder or easier than it used to be?
I struggle with that question, because I think it's just different. Like and this is like the whole, like, before people, before the printing press, like business was different, right? Like when I've been really fascinated by the history of Amsterdam. Amsterdam is
interesting.
Essentially like one of the first, like, some of the most influential companies in the world have come out of Amsterdam. America's founding fathers, like John Adams, went to Amsterdam to finance the American Revolution. A lot of the American principles and like real like cultural foundation of America is originated from Amsterdam. New York was originally New Amsterdam. So there's some really interesting history there. And back then, when they're building these buildings, they're building them in a swamp. And so they have to drain the swamp, and they have to clear out all the water, but then all the ground that they're building on is super shaky. It's shifting. And so they have to drive these huge pylons into the ground. And so they have like 80-person teams picking up these like essentially like iron hammers with ropes and then dropping the rope. And so it's like the work culture back then was super gnarly to be successful. Because the guys, and what they would do is they would have beer on standby all day, on demand. And so like these guys are busting their ass. They're working super hard. They're working in a super wet, nasty, cold environment all day long, every day, just driving a giant piece of wood into the ground, 80 feet into the ground with no technology. And so it's like, yeah, that's a horrible job. And so you need the beer to get by. You need good songs. And so they would use songs and chants to stay on beat with each other. They would drink beer all day. It sounded like a great time, but also it sounds like hell. Right? Like imagine getting up at 5 a.m. to go stand in a wet marsh and do manual labor all day. That's brutal. And so I think the same thing with like the internet is like, it's hard to be successful on the internet. Do not get me wrong. It's very difficult to be successful on the internet. But what made those construction companies, what made the first great empires and the first great companies successful is strong culture, right? It was like, yes, this work is going to suck. Like nobody wants to be here right now. But at least there's good beer and at least there's good songs. Like you're going to sing awesome songs with people that you're willing to hang out with and you're going to drink good beer. And that's acceptable. That's good enough. And so same thing on the internet. I think
Love
like
that
if
analogy.
if you're around the right people, if you're around people that you're excited to be around that are inspiring to you, and you're willing to just bear with the suck, like when in life did we expect it to be easy? Or did someone tell us when we were kids, they're like, hey, you can have everything you want and you won't even have to work for it? No, it's going to be difficult. Like the human experience is inherently a not pleasant experience, at least so far in my life. That's what I've noted.
Hey, have you ever read the book Viktor Frankl?
Man's Search for Meaning.
Man's Search for Meaning, right? You think about it. What is really, it's when you, and then I'm going to go straight to Earl Nightingale. What does he say? Earl Nightingale, do you know who Earl Nightingale is? Yeah,
I do.
As soon as you realize life is about service, you'll do fine. But back to Viktor Frankl, that book, I'm reading that book. I got several books I'm reading, but I can only read so much of that book, and then I have to move on to another book depending on the day, because it's a bit of a heavy read. But he's, your whole life is born out of hardship, and then it gets better. Hardship, and then it gets better. I love your analogy about the Amsterdam thing. And just as a side note, my wife is Dutch. Her dad is Frisian. That's why all my kids are, my second oldest is 6'5". All my kids are tall because they're Dutch. They have Dutch blood. And her dad is, Frisian. I call my wife a Viking. Okay. And her mom is from a place called Horn, Horne, which is, she grew up in Amsterdam. She grew up in the times where the Nazis would have the U-boats in the canals, and she would trade sugar for eggs and stuff like that. And her dad had a bakery. There's a third generation bakery in Smithers, BC that came from Holland, came from Amsterdam. Now that's wild. Or Backhausen, yeah. But here's a cool thing. She went there, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and she got to tour the canals in one of those wooden boats because the people her cousins that own this pile driving company. Yeah. And it's so big. She brought back magazines the company puts out every couple of months. A really cool story, but yeah, we're actually thinking of heading there in October of this year. Anyhow, this has been fun, dude, but I want to ask you, I'm not quite done. Ads or organic? Ads or organic for when we talk about it's really difficult to do business online. What do you think? Are ads still working?
Yes.
Or they are, right?
Yeah. Books Facebook, still work. Yeah. All of it's books, like it all works. So I'm agnostic as to whether you should go ads or organic. And to answer your question directly, let's do some rapid fire. Let's get really tactical. Obviously, the people listening are business owners. They want bigger businesses. They want to be happier in business. The whole should I do ads or should I do organic is the same thing of asking what time of day should I post? And the reality is it doesn't matter if it works. And if it doesn't work, now you're going to blame, I posted at 3 p.m. on Tuesdays instead of 11 a.m. on Wednesday. That's why it didn't work. No! People post at both times and they get results. So that's not the common denominator. And so, I know people doing millions of dollars a month with ads. I know people doing millions of dollars a month with organic. My answer is, what are you able and willing to commit to for a long time that you can continuously invest in and learn? And so one of my good friends is a ghostwriter, and he asks clients, he's like, well, do you feel more comfortable talking to a camera or writing in a document? Which one are you more comfortable with? Because you got to pick. And that's the difference between writing on LinkedIn and email and blogs and Twitter and making social media content on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. Just pick one. And either way is fine. We don't need to, say, hey, you have to have this and you have to have the other. And the cool part is both are skills you can learn. To be really practical, because we've spent millions in ads. One of our clients actually, we're doing a hybrid, so it's like organic plus paid. In January, they did $100,000 in revenue. So far in June, they've done $500,000 in revenue.
Wow.
So really, really, really incredible. In 6 months, we've 5x the business. And it's all through paid ads and organic social media content. And the way that you do paid ads and organic social media and you get such good results is you, number one, figure out what you can do sustainably and consistently. Like, what's the discipline I'm willing to stick to, right? Like the daily non-negotiables, if they're so high that you never do them, it doesn't matter. So they have to be something that you're willing to do. And then you just learn the skill. And so like our ads on average get like a 5 to 6x ROAS for them. Nothing crazy. But then when we stack an organic flywheel on top of it, the call booking rate goes up, the call show rate goes up, the close rate goes up. Like people are more excited coming back to the human experience because there's more trust, there's more relationship, there's a better understanding of what they're buying. And when you add those things through organic social media, the association, the brand, suddenly people are more willing to give you their money because they have a better relationship with you. And so ads, the best, like if you want to make a sale tomorrow and you don't have an audience, do ads. But if you want to build community, if you want to build relationship, if you want to build trust, if you want to actually have an impact in the world, there's nothing better than organic.
Yeah, perfect. No, great answer, man. I think that's about it for you and I, man. I think that I was going to give you some rapid fire stuff, but you pretty much covered everything that I wanted to talk about. I really appreciate the fact that, listen, man, you've built your own life. This is great. You're living in this $4 million house with all these. The best thing I can say is that you're surrounded by great people. I mean, I've had roommates in the past when I was working up north, and they were the best people to be living with. And it was not, proximity was killing me. And that's actually why I left the north, the oil fields and all that other, is because I'm like, I do not belong here. So where you're at, you sound, and that analogy you made about, sometimes it's the journey, right? It's the journey along the way. If you keep doing what you're doing, there is no other outcome. You will get what you want. I look at my life, and I was explaining this to Jonathan earlier. It's like when I sold the companies in 2020, it took me 3 years God, it's been 6 years. Do you realize it's been 6 years since I sold the companies? It's taken me that long to get over imposter syndrome, to figure out why was I so successful in building these, when I sold, companies were, 10 million plus company that started from one van. How did I get to that? I had no idea, except I can say burning desire. Well, that's fine. What is burning desire? And I tell you, man, it took me that many years to figure out that all the little decisions you make, that when you wake up, all the little, we talk about daily non-negotiables, that stuff is super powerful. Sometimes you can become too aware as well, but that's for another day, right?
That'll be for part 2. Let's see if the people want it. If the people want it, we'll keep going.
So again, I appreciate the fact that I came from the brick and mortar industry. You were online, and I appreciate everything you've done for me, man. Hey, where can people reach you? The Standard.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 best places to come find me and say hello. Obviously, Instagram is my best platform. The place to find me on Instagram is the Harrison Coley. So that's just TheHarrisonColey. I try to respond to everybody on Instagram. Bear with me, be patient. But yeah, the Harrison Coley on Instagram. Or you can go to our website, which is Grow Liminal. Liminal is a Latin word, but it's spelled the exact way it sounds. So grow, GROW. Liminal is LIMINAL.com. So growliminal.com or Instagram at the Harrison Coley. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Cool, dude. I'll throw those in the notes.
Sweet. And Jeff, if the people want it, we're going to have to give them a part 2, right?
Absolutely, dude. Like, I'm getting this puppy rolling. You're the first one for Riverside. So
rock and roll.
Appreciate you, man. And we'll catch up next time.
Sweet, man. Yeah. If we, let's say we hit, like, I don't know, what's a good goal for you? 1,000 views on this, 5,000 views on this. If we hit a certain number on this show, I'll fly out and we'll do it in person.
Dude, so man, I'll even come to Austin. That's next. I'm just
100%.
I actually I got to get down that way, but for sure, man. Appreciate you, and yeah, there will be part 2, of course.
There's always more. Take care.
I'll send you some clips.